Okay, besties, I just need a moment where we all acknowledge that I'm being very brave for filming this video right now because I have a self-induced headache from going to bed at 5 a.m. 2 nights in a row. Could that be my fault? Maybe, but also I'm so brave. Anyway, let's get into the positivity of the day, and that is talking about my 10 best books that I read in 2024. 2024 was an abysmal reading year, that is true, but I have 10 books that I absolutely loved and we need to talk about them. Let's start with number 10. We have Mary by Nat Cassidy. This is one of those horror books that just will not leave your brain after you read it. This is about our main character, Mary, and she is an older woman who is going through menopause, but something weird is going on. Not only is she having hot flashes, but she's also hearing voices in her head, and so every time she tries to go to the doctor's like, "You're fine, you're just getting old." And then, as if things couldn't get worse, Mary gets fired from her job and has to move back to her hometown to take care of her ailing aunt. Weird stuff starts going on in this town. There's a lot of odd things happening, because back in the day there was a serial killer in this town. People are kind of obsessed with it. The writing in this book is absolutely phenomenal. I don't know how Nat Cassidy did it, but he really made me feel like I was reading from the perspective of a woman going through menopause. And Mary is one of those characters where you root for her because you like her, but then she does a lot of bad things and you're like, actually, Mary, maybe don't. Maybe don't do that. When I first read this, I only give it 4 stars because of some pacing issues, but the longer that I thought about this, the more that I decided I should upgrade it to a 5-star because it really was that good. Do not ask me what I think of Nat Cassidy's other book, Nestlings, because that was garbage rat. In the number 9 slot, we have the most darling novella, Thorn Hedge by T. Kingfisher. So this is a retelling of Sleeping Beauty, except for we're following this character named Toadling, who is the witch that was tasked with guarding the tower. No one is allowed to get to this girly pop up there. One day, a knight shows up and he is dead set on saving the maiden in the tower. My favorite thing about this romance is that both of the main characters are ugly. It's literally written on the page. Toadling literally can turn into a toad and she has a lot of attributes of a toad. And then the knight apparently is not very handsome either. So there's literally a part in the book where he's like, you know, you're kind of not very nice to look at, but I love your personality so much. I really like you. And then they fall in love and I love that for them. I love that, love that, love that. Coming in at the number 8 slot, we have Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. This is about a monster named Shisheshan. She's basically this amorphous blob that can absorb bones and sticks and metal and just junk, whatever she can find around. She can absorb it and turn her form into whatever she wants. Like she can appear human. And at the beginning of this book, she's hibernating and these hunters showed up and they start trying to kill her. And she's like, fuck, this is really annoying. So then she goes into the town. She finds out that everybody wants to kill her because apparently she put a curse on the local baroness who runs the village. And she's like, what the fuck? No, I didn't. I've never done that. Why are you bringing me into this? And then this human woman, Homily, finds her and nurses her back to health and mistakes her for a human. And so they start a romantic relationship. What I love about this book is that the relationship between Shisheshan and Homily is so cute. For all intents and purposes, it's basically asexual, which I love. The asexual rep was amazing, but the emotional connection and the way that they wanted to be life partners and meet each other at their different needs was so cute. And then there's also the added comedic factor of Shisheshan trying to figure out how to be in a relationship with a human, because in her mind, she's like, oh my god, I love Homily so much. I should lay my eggs inside her. There's also a character in this that I absolutely loved, who is basically Shisheshan's like bitch boy. Like she scares him into doing things for her, and he has a degradation kink, and it was so funny. Like every time she's mean to him, he's like, yes mommy, tell me more. At number 7, we have I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. I'm sure you're watching this being like, why is every booktuber putting this on their favorites list? I don't know why we all read this year. I actually got recommended this by a patron. That was the first time I'd ever heard of this, but after I read it, everybody was talking about this. And what's crazy is that this book was written in the 90s and it's translated. And for some reason, all us bitches are just now finding it. Now, this is one of those books that will have you staring at the wall for hours after you read it. We're following this girl who has grown up in captivity. She and all these women are in a cage and they have no idea why they're there. And while they're being held captive, the only men that they ever see are the ones that bring them their food and like keep them in the cage, but they never talk to them, never interact with them. I think what's most haunting about this book is that it's so open-ended and you truly will just be staring at a wall wondering what the fuck was going on in this book. Like after I finished this, I went on Reddit because I had to hear other people's interpretations. This would be the perfect book club book if you were looking for something to read like in an IRL book club where you wanted something to discuss. It was so interesting. It was so intriguing. It was like lightly sci-fi, kind of post-apocalyptic. The whole time you're like, what the fuck? What is going on in this book? Then you're kind of having a good time at the same time. And that's really saying something because you guys know I'm not a weird book bitch. I really am not. And I don't always love open-ended things, but something about this just scratched my brain so right. I've lost track of what number we are on. I think we're at number 6. And number 6 is A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. As of late, one thing I've been discovering about myself is there's nothing I love more than an unhinged woman who's also unlikable. Our girl Dorothy is a food critic and she did that for many years until one day she got a taste for humans, for men specifically. She just loves trying new food so much. It's a delicacy to her. She does eventually get caught, and so she's actually writing this book from prison. So she's kind of telling you her life story. And what I love about Dorothy is she don't give a fuck about nothing. The way that she writes this is so narcissistic. She's like, so I'm amazing and every crime that I committed was justified and I would do it again. Blah, blah. I really enjoyed how she often would tell the reader how to feel, she'd be like, yeah, I know you're obsessed with me. Like, you're so obsessed with me. That's why you're reading this story. Don't think you're better than me because you're interested in what I'm saying. You want to hear about a cannibal. And I was like, you've got me there, Dorothy. You're so right. I've just really been enjoying women who don't conform to society's like standards of like likability. There's just something about growing up as a woman and you are always forced to be nice and do all these things. That's not to say that I would enjoy meeting someone like Dorothy in person. She probably would suck. She is quite narcissistic, but there's just something so fun and refreshing about reading about a woman who doesn't give a fuck. I keep saying that, but I love it. I really do. All right, in the number 5 slot, we're gonna take a lighter turn. We're gonna go into some romance. We got Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Congrats to Abby Jimenez for ending up on my favorites list 2 years in a row. I love that for her. Abigail, we have come so far since I read The Friend Zone, which by the way was one of the worst books I've ever read in my life. In this book, we're following 2 people, Emma and Justin, who are cursed with the good luck Chuck effect. And Justin actually writes about it on Reddit and Emma reads about it and then they start talking on Reddit, which did kind of scare me. This would never happen to me in real life. The way that I would not meet my mans on Reddit, that's very scary. In my opinion, stories that start with Reddit don't end well, but for them, it does, because basically they decide to date each other so they can break their curse. But obviously when they start dating, they start having feelings for each other and it's very cute. I also loved how heartfelt the story was because throughout the story, Emma is dealing with a very complicated relationship with her mother. And then Justin is also having issues with his family because his mother has to go away for a while and he has to be the caretaker for all of his younger siblings. I loved their dynamic. I thought it was so sweet. Like, this book is kind of long for a romance, but the whole time I was having an amazing time. Like, I think this is like 400 pages. It was so good. There's also a part in this where they both get sick and they have to take care of each other. It's so cute. It's so cute. If you like caretaking, you will love that part. Also, the humor in this is so fun. Like, there's this one part where Justin's mom finds a bunch of raccoons when she's drunk, and that scene was like literally making me laugh out loud. All right, we're really getting down to the wire. We got the number 4 slot. We got Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. Also, I'm very upset. I noticed that my copy got a little bent here, so we're gonna ignore that. But it is the nice Waterstones edition with sprayed edges. I went to London last year, and when I was in Waterstones, I saw this, and I was like, I need that. I need that immediately, and I bought it. Before I even get into talking about this, I need to call out all you bitches who keep putting this on your worst books of the year. I need you to stop. I need you to stop. The entire time I was reading this, I was like, what about this would people not like? Like, I read this in one sitting. One sitting. Now, did I go to bed really late at night and have to take a sick day the next day at work? Yes. Don't tell my employer, please. This is the sequel to Ninth House, so I'm going to describe that book instead of this one in case you want to know. I feel like Ninth House is one of those things, personally for me, where when I wasn't really in the mood to read it, which was for many years when it first came out, I didn't pay attention when people described it, so I'm going to try to sell you on it very, very quickly. Basically, our main character is a drug addict, and through a series of events she ends up being able to go work at Yale because she can see ghosts, and they have all these secret societies that do like blood sacrifices and different things to stay wealthy. But basically Alex has to oversee all of these ceremonies through this like third-party group called the Leafy Society. And so in the first book, we're dealing with her and her mentor Darlington, and we're on 2 different timelines where Darlington has gone missing and then when she first got to Yale and kind of learned the ropes. This book is the fallout after we figure out what's happened to Darlington. The way this series is written, it's so episodic. Like, I need this to be a TV show expeditiously. Tell me which Hollywood exec I need to do things with because I will do it in order to see this on my television. I do have to come out and say my truth. That's going to make some people upset. I don't believe that Alex and Dawes have any chemistry. I unfortunately am an Alex and Darlington shipper. I am. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I usually would go for the gay couple. I usually would. But something about it, like the way that they're written, I just don't see them as having chemistry. Anyway, sorry. That was my own truth that I needed to tell. And that will only make sense to you if you read the books, but I don't think they have chemistry. I don't. I'm so excited that we're officially getting into the top 3. These books were definitely by far my favorite that I read. I feel like the order of the top 2 could be interchangeable, but I think the number 3 is in its right slot, and that is The Will of the Many by James Islington. Now, let me tell you something. I actually read this for a vlog that hasn't come out yet, and I normally do not allow myself to talk about books on my channel before I post a vlog or like put anything on Goodreads or anything. Like, I want it to be a secret, but I loved this book so much that I'm breaking all of my own rules. I really am. I need you guys to know how much I love this. So when you watch that vlog and I'm all skeptical, oh, am I gonna like this? This is gonna be good. You're already gonna know the answer if you're a true watcher of all my videos. I know you've been seeing this everywhere and you're probably like, why the fuck does everyone want me to read this? I will fully admit that I looked at this and I thought that's a boy fantasy and I'm not interested, but I was so wrong for that. There is a reason that everyone keeps hyping this up. And yes, is it obscenely long? It is, but don't let that scare you because the magic system in this is actually not that hard to understand. All you need to do is picture the Roman Empire, but make it into an MLM. So we're living in a society called the hierarchy, and they have these power pyramids where basically there are people all the way at the top who absorb other people's energy, and that's why it's called the Will of the Many. So our main character is a 17-year-old named Vis, and he is living in an orphanage when one day he is adopted by this really high up senator in the hierarchy who wants him to go be a spy. He's tasked with infiltrating and finding this secret weapon that nobody really knows what it is, and he's actually hiding a lot of his own secrets. What amazes me about this book is that even though it's 620 pages, I felt like I was reading for 5 5 minutes. I was very surprised by how much I liked Vis as a main character, because normally I don't want to read about boys. I don't want to read about a boy main character, especially not in a fantasy world where it's mostly men. Like, that doesn't sound good to me. The only thing that would have made this better is if Vis had been gay, because he has this one best friend at the academy that I needed him to kiss. I was like, I need you guys to kiss right now. And they didn't kiss. And it was very irritating to me. And there's actually a girl that he likes. And I was like, ugh, boring. All right, in the number 2 slot, we have Slow Dance by Rainbow Rowell. This book is following estranged best friends Shiloh and Carrie, and when they were in high school, they always had a will they won't they type of relationship, but they didn't end up going all the way, and then they went on to live their own lives. And now flash forward, they're in their 30s. Shiloh is recently divorced. Carrie's on leave from the Navy. They see each other at a friend's wedding, and wow, they start falling in love again. The writing in this will make you salivate. I honestly wish I had annotated this. If I ever reread this, I will annotate it, and I'm not an annotating bitch. I'm really not, but I will, because there are so many quotes in this that will have you on your knees. The way that this man is obsessed with Shiloh, he is like begging her, frothing at the mouth, be with me, please, please, I need you, I've needed you since I was 12 years old. Like, he's obsessed with her. I know a lot of people don't enjoy second chance romance, but this isn't one of those typical, they used to date and then they made a bunch of mistakes and that's why they're not together anymore. I would honestly say it's more of like a childhood friends to lovers sort of story. So if you like friends to lovers, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this because the respect that they have for one another, obsessed. I'm obsessed. And I love, 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 love. I said this so many times. I love the way that Rainbow Rowell describes people, because she describes Joe and Sally from down the street. She describes your neighbor, your aunt, just normal ass looking people. And I am at this point in life where sometimes my image of myself and the way that I look is so low, and I just stare at a screen all day because I do YouTube and I'm on Instagram and all these places. I just start to feel like I'm ugly, even though I look like a normal person. I'm so normal looking. I'm just at this point where I'm like craving looking at normal faces. And so it's so refreshing to read a romance book that actually describes normal ass people with normal ass jobs, and nothing's perfect, and it's just like a very real ass story. Like, you will really enjoy this if you're also craving something like that, because I often get very sick of how every romance book has like super hot characters. I'm honestly one of those girlies that would prefer a dad bod over a really muscly guy. Like, where would you cuddle? Where would you lay? It would just be like so hard and cold. And the number 1 slot, drumroll please, we have Funny Story by Emily Henry. If you know me at all, if you've been watching my channel, I know you were gonna say this. I know you were gonna say this for me. You're gonna be like, I know that she's gonna say Funny Story, because I am an Emily Henry bitch through and through. Did we have a dip last year with Happy Place? Yes, but we won't talk about that. So in this book, we have Daphne, and she is engaged, and her fiance is off at his bachelor party, and he has a female best friend that he's always told her, I don't have feelings for her. She's like a friend. You know how they do. And so while he's at this party, him and his best friend confess their love for each other, and he comes home and he's like, hey, you have to move out because me and this other girlie, we're gonna take off together. So she actually is approached by Miles, who is the boyfriend of the girl who took off, and is like, hey, I need a roommate. And so Daphne moves in with him. And this is very much giving New Girl. Like, Miles is Nick Miller. If Emily Henry told me she'd never seen New Girl before, I would call her a big fat liar, because it is giving New Girl so much. Daphne is very like type A. She has her life together. She likes to use a calendar. And Miles is like crying, sobbing in his room, and like smoking pot when they first start living together. And so at first Daphne's like, who is this weirdo? But then they get invited to their ex's wedding, and to make them jealous, they're like, what if we fake dated? But very quickly they're like, actually, I want to kiss you on the mouth. This is not fake dating anymore. And they just fall in love. They just fall in love and they become best friends. It's like a friends to lovers. It's like fake dating, friends to lovers, roommates to lovers. There's so many tropes in here together, and these are Emily Henry's sexiest sex scenes. If you want a cutesy, demure, sensual sex scene, it's in here. It's so good. I unfortunately am becoming a grandma these days where I don't really love like overly detailed sex scenes, but the way that Emily Henry managed to be titillating, tantalizing in this, but also not too overly detailed, she deserves an award. And listen, I get it. I'm sure some of you are very tired of seeing Emily Henry on all these booktubers favorites lists. It's not our fault that she slays every time. If you've never read My Girl Emily, I actually think that this book would be a really good one to start with. It's honestly her best writing because it's her most recent one. The characters in this are just so endearing. Daphne is the kind of main character that you want to root for, and then Miles is the kind of love interest that makes you swoon. Everything about this is just so cute, and I highly recommend it. But that kind of brings me to the end, besties. These were my top 10 books of the year. Highly recommend that you read all of these. I feel like I have a good mix here of different types of things. We've got horror, we've got unhinged women, we've got a really long fantasy, we have romance, we've got everything you could possibly want here. Also, I'm gonna put them down because it's quite heavy. Okay, oh no, oh, they're all falling. Oh, okay, all right. Anyway, my god, my headache is really hurting. I probably should take some medicine, but I'm weirdly anti-medicine for some reason. I don't know why. I just have this thing, right? And I took like some Tylenol yesterday. I don't know. Maybe I should just go to bed. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should sleep and drink water. That seems like something that humans should do. If you're interested in seeing more of my favorite books of 2024, I actually posted an honorable mentions video on my Patreon. I also just posted about a year-long reading challenge I'm doing called New Year, New Me, where basically we're all taking our New Year's resolutions and applying them to reading and doing all these different configurations of like how to set our goals for the year. And so that's something very fun that we're all doing and talking about on the Discord. So if any of that interests you, or like live shows, reading sprints, that sort of thing, then be sure to check out my Patreon. That's always linked in the description. And if you've made it to the end of this video, be sure to leave a cherry emoji in your comments down below because I got my cherries. That sounded dirty. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. You're all beautiful. Have a nice day.